Hi, everybody. We lost. Welcome to Game Over Vancouver. I'm Kaja Mae, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Parker. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks lost 4-1 to the Vegas Golden Knights. Did we see that coming? It was about as close as Toronto is close to Vancouver. That's about how close it was. Yeah, he's muted. Uh-oh. Wait. Okay. Can you talk again? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is not working out. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Did you cut?
Mm,
Oh, I can hear myself now too on the stream. I think we're back. I think we're back. Run it. Let's go. Oh yeah, I can only hear myself. All right. Well, Kai is figuring out her mic. Hello, welcome to Game Over Vancouver. We're gonna start the. We'll cut all this from the podcast. We'll pretend this is the beginning. Hope you're all doing well after a terrible loss to the Vegas Golden Knights, a 4-1. Uh, we've had our share of technical difficulties. Kai, do you think you have your mic back in order?
I think so. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear
we'll
me?
we'll we'll go with it until we get confirmation. But
Yes.
yeah, a not ideal. I mean, if you just take a gander at the shots, 44-22, definitely not a good sign. But the Canucks, they just didn't look good. We have a confirmation. We're good. All
Thank
right,
you.
Kaya,
Thank
how
you.
are you doing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so starting off the top, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I I got a new mic for Black Friday. I decided to set it up today. I guess I didn't do it properly and now we're here. So, you know what? We had a rough start just like the Canucks did, but hey, at least we're getting better.
It worked great for about 3 minutes. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah. So as we mentioned already once, but we're starting over for the podcast version. Um, the Canucks, we sort of felt like, at least I sort of said it was either they were going to get blown out or they were going to squeak out a win. Turns out shots going 44-22, usually not a great sign, but I do want to say before we get too negative and too upset, analytically, the Canucks weren't terrible.
Okay.
Expected goals in all situations, 2.5 for the Canucks, 2.8 for Vegas. Actually really close. High danger chances, 14-9 in favor of the Canucks. The problem is, there was a couple weird ones. Aiden Hill was fantastic, as he's been all year, and then Logan Thompson was good enough to survive. Kaya, your thoughts overall on this one?
You're roasting Stanley Cup champion Logan Thompson.
He was good enough. I mean, he let in the first shot, not great, and then he was fine the rest of the way. He only had to make 5 saves.
Fine. I mean, getting paid that much for how much NHL players make in just for doing that, great, perfect. Yeah, I was not excited. Like going down to nothing, especially. I just really thought back to the Seattle game where we lost at home against the Kraken, and it was kind of just. It was a goofy game with a bunch of goofy goals. That's kind of what it was. I kind of thought of it as, and then especially with this game, especially the third period Brett Hounded goal. What was that? The first goal, like Demko didn't have his stick and he'd have it, but also like no one was guarding Ivan Barbashev, like or anything. The Canucks just all collectively they just ignored the Golden Knights on the ice.
Yeah, that first goal, you have all 5 Vancouver Canucks within about 11 feet of each other. One in the crease, one just in front of the crease, one in the slot, and then 2 guys beside the net. And somehow the one guy just in the middle of all of it is Barbashev, and he sort of just smacks it in. Just bad defending, right? Like someone's got to break that pass up. Someone's got to, keep the puck away from that high danger chance, especially when you have everybody there, right? What should be the most dangerous thing for Vegas to do there is like play it back to the point because there's a guy with a bunch of time. But they find Barbashev, and then, yeah, speaking of sort of weird goals, the second one, right? Where Vegas gets set up in the offensive zone, but they're sort of scrambling. There's a play to the middle. It goes right into a guy's skates. He spins around, and somehow Tyler Myers just misses a poke check. Like it's 2 goals in the first period for Vegas that could have really easily been broken up if the Canucks defense were on their game a little bit more.
But don't you worry. Don't you worry. Nikita Zadorov is going to fix every single defensive problem that this team has, apparently.
Yes.
He's going to fix everything. Too bad, because I think the 2026 third totally should have helped. That would have helped way better than Zadorov.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, obviously you're being a bit facetious, but that second goal, Tyler Myers is the one that misses that puck, right? Tyler Myers, if everyone's healthy and Nikita Zadorov's in the lineup, Tyler Myers is on the third pair. No question about it. He's playing 12 minutes a night instead of 20. How much did he play tonight, by the way? He played 18-15. He won't have to play that much anymore with Nikita Zadorov in the lineup. He'll be down on that third pair. You go Cole Zadorov on the second pair, and then you shelter Tyler Myers. Because Tyler Myers was genuinely good for a chunk of this season when he wasn't playing as much, when Soucy was healthy. But yeah, 2 weird ones to start the game. 2 that obviously the Canucks would like to have back, and 2 that I can't put much blame on Demko, right? You don't have your stick for the first one. Things happen.
Yeah, things happen. I feel like it sum up the entirety of what happened. We just got completely walked by Vegas, and Demko ended up with a save percentage above 900, which is good for my fantasy team. But otherwise, like, the Canucks, going into this game, their power play percentage was 3rd in the league with 29.8, and that was above the Jets. They're
it probably is above the Jets.
It is also above the Jets, but it was above the Knights, because Vegas only had 20.7% on the power play. The Canucks, yes, they have an 89 or an 85 penalty kill. Reading the wrong numbers. Yeah, the Canucks 29.8 power play percentage. We went 0-3 against for the only 3 power plays we got in the first period, because there was just the trip against Quinn, Hughes by Howden, the Mark Stone hooking on Hronek, and the Zach Whitecloud hooking against Connor Garland. Like, that was all. That was it. That was nothing. And then the rest were Canucks got three per period. And yeah, they scored on one of the three power plays. There weren't a lot of calls this game, but at the same time, like 0-3, all in the same period, all in the same time frame when you're just not producing anything. Like, that had 8 shots in the first period.
Yeah, the power play didn't feel like it was doing much tonight. Vegas has a really good. Vegas played that penalty kill really aggressively, and even like Shorty and Dave Tomlinson were noting on the broadcast. Like, they were so hard on pucks, and it's a high risk, high reward penalty kill, right? If you're putting a lot of pressure on guys, if you can break up a play, you can clear it down, you can kill 20 seconds, and you can allow the other team to never really get set. Problem is, there's usually a guy open in that case as well, and they can make you pay for it. The Canucks just couldn't figure that out. And then Vegas scores on one of their 3 power plays, and it's that goal in this, like, halfway through the second period, that William Karlsson goal, which, I mean, no real problems with the Canucks structure on the PK here. They're in a box, it's fine. William Karlsson is literally just at the faceoff dot. If you're going to allow a shot on goal, that's a fine place to allow one from. Demko just cheated a little bit to the short side. He lost his crease a little bit. The first 2, sort of weird goals and a couple of weird bounces, right? Demko doesn't have a stick, and then the Eichel goal where, pucks are bouncing weird ways. This one is on Demko. This is one that he should make that save. And it's, if there's any of them that he does want back, it's probably that one.
Yeah, just looking, did the Golden Knights really just watch the bubble playoffs over and over again to prepare for this game? Because I felt like this was sort of their revenge game, even though, they won the Stanley Cup last year. When it comes to, that goal was definitely the one where Demko would want back. About the 4th goal for Vegas, he really just did not know where the puck was for that one. I don't blame him. It was above his head and then went 100 different ways on weird bounces. But I feel like the 3rd goal where Demko, it just kind of sneaks by him, that was like the nail in the coffin for the team.
Yeah, when the 3rd period started, it was, okay, the Canucks need to come out strong, right? And that's why that goal in the 2nd period hurt so much, right? Because the Canucks actually looked decent to start the period. And then, the start of the 3rd, you're thinking, all right, they just need to put some pressure on. If they score 1, this is a team that can come back from a 3-goal deficit. If there's any team, this team has the offense. And then, it's just this regular wrist shot from the blue line that Demko saves. He genuinely, he puts the blocker up, and he makes a blocker save. It bounces off the blocker and then off the shoulder of Howden and sort of like pops over him. Like, it's so fluky, and like you do that 100 times, it doesn't happen again. But sometimes you have puck luck, and if you get 44 shots on goal, you're going to have puck luck more often than not, right? Even if they're not super high danger chances. I mean, the heat map in this game from where Vegas was shooting from, a lot from the walls, a lot from the point, a little bit in front. The Canucks were, their limited shots, they had about the same amount of like net front chances. That's why those high danger chances are actually so close and in favor of the Canucks. But you throw a bunch of stuff at the net, eventually you're going to get some weird bounces.
I'd say, especially with that weird bounce, is it hurt. It hurt in a sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why hockey can't be scripted, because stuff like that happens on a regular basis. People complain about all the time about different, like, especially the NFL being scripted. I don't think you could script any of this.
It'd be too hard.
It'd be too hard. Yeah. And they did have a good 2nd period in contrast to what happened last game, where they, in the 2nd they had, like, what was the shots? It was like 22-8.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It wasn't great, and especially against, Anaheim. Like, this is against Vegas. We're trying to battle it out for the top of the Pacific Division. They were on a bit of a slump beforehand. The Canucks, they're kind of, they started good, and then, obviously they're kind of they're dipping down a little bit, but this game, it really cemented that, yes, the Canucks will probably make the playoffs due to how the Pacific Division just is. They will probably make the playoffs, but they're still like far, far away from from being like an actual true contender, like people say we are.
Yeah, there's a bit of a gap, but no team in sort of their first run is ever really a contender, right? Like you look at when Colorado had that abysmal season, and then a couple of years after that, they finally make the playoffs. It took them a few kicks at the can, right? Same with Vegas. Vegas has been good for a long time before and I mean, their first season, they made it to the final, of course, but most teams, they don't. Like St. Louis is the example I go to, right? The year before they won the cup, they sold at the deadline, even though they were second in the Central, I think, at the time. um, most teams, it takes some seasoning, some experience. um, and look, Vegas has struggled this year, right? They were on a real skid coming into this game. That's why I had some hope for the Canucks, because both teams are in a bit of a slump. And look, LA, I think, is going to pass Vancouver handily in the next few days, and probably Vegas as well. But I push back a little bit on, like, oh, it shows that there's clearly this gap, because I think that game against, they've had that loss to Colorado, which showed something similar. But then I go back to the win against the Stars, that 2-0 win over Dallas, and that loss to the Rangers, that 4-3 in overtime. I thought those were just as big of a statement as sort of this loss and the Colorado loss, where to me they're sort of even, right? They're going to lose some games, you're going to win some games, but I think one loss doesn't, sort of put you in a position where now you're destined for third in the Pacific. I think they can still make a bit of a push.
They could still definitely make a bit of a push, and like you said, yeah, LA probably passing us in the next little bit here. Um, I do think, yeah, like you said, St. Louis sells at the deadline and then, wins the cup. The whole, oh, they were in last place type of deal. I was gonna make a Toronto finally making the second round joke, but I feel like that's a little bit offhand considering the Canucks playoff history in recent years. When it comes to the Canucks, yes, it's one loss against, the best team in our division, as of right now. But when it comes to like the big picture, like there's losses against Colorado, loss against the Tampa loss, the Philadelphia loss. I understand those ones were earlier in the season, and yes, we did have some hard fought wins, like the shutout against Dallas that you mentioned. The New York, we got 1 point out of that, so pretty decent. At the same time, when it comes to that, it's like you always look back the last few years, where we like almost made the playoffs, especially in the 2021-22 season. You always look back and saw like the one game where something could have gone different and we would have been in. Like in 2021-22, it was the Chicago Blackhawks. We lost to them 1-0 in like January, and that was like the nail in the coffin. So I understand, like, this isn't doom and gloom for the Canucks. I don't know why I am suddenly the most negative person in the Game Over Vancouver group, but I just keep worrying that the next thing that's going to happen for the Canucks is just a complete nosedive. Someone in the chat, we're going to go to the chat in a little bit, but someone in the chat said Oilers will catch the Canucks soon. So I think Bud's in a dream right now.
Yeah. Look, I think if you said, hey, the rest of the way the Oilers will get more points than the Canucks, I wouldn't be too surprised by that. They got a 12-point gap to make up, and they lost, or no, they beat the Jets tonight. Sorry, I thought they lost. They're on a run. They've won their last 4. They've got a bit of a tough schedule coming up, but yeah, no, the Oilers, again, coming into this year, they were supposed to be number 2 in the Pacific, right? And sure, they are better than they have been, and now that they're winning a few games, they'll move up the ranks a bit. But that's what's so nice about the Canucks start, right? They've built up this buffer where they can afford to be middle of the pack for a couple of weeks, which they've done, right? And they're still 15-8-1. If we're coming in the season, you say, hey, the Canucks will be second in the Pacific, third in the Pacific, if we say LA's ahead of them, which I think we should. Yeah, they'd be third in the Pacific with a 8-point gap on Calgary, 9 points on Seattle, and 12 points on Edmonton. pretty comfortably in a playoff spot, I'd take that 10 times out of 10. So I'm not going to get to, I was upset about this game. I was more upset about the football game, honestly. This game was, my heart was already broken going to the third period of this one. But
The Seahawks?
yeah,
Okay.
they
That
hurt me every week.
was that the primetime game that like kicked the Patriots and Chiefs off of
No,
prime
that's in 2 weeks.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
different,
Okay, I
different
was
one.
very confused.
Yeah. So it's but genuinely, the Canucks they're fine. They're in a good spot. They've got a couple games coming up that are decently winnable, right? The Flames on Saturday, the Zadorov revenge game, which will be fun. The Devils, the Jack Hughes Bowl, Minnesota Wild. They're a little bit less interesting, unless you want to go with the what was the guy's name? The scout. I can't even remember his name now after talking about him so much 3 years ago. Either way, uh,
I have no
some interesting
clue.
games coming up.
I'm like, I know Marc-Andre Fleury's on the Minnesota Wild. That's it. Yeah.
They stole Judd Brackett. That's the name I was thinking of. They stole our guy. So that's something we can look forward to. But honestly, winnable games coming up for the Canucks and a chance to maybe get back on the right foot.
Yeah, they definitely need a bit of a refresh, I'd say, because yes, while some of these games were winnable, I'd say against the Flames definitely, even though they're kind of the Flames have been decent more recently. Like
Yep.
they beat Dallas tonight. They beat Dallas again 6-4 last week. They maybe I should just stop comparing it to games only where they play against Dallas, but the Flames have been better as of recently. They're better than Edmonton right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is like the best win for them. It's like the Albertan Stanley Cup. But
Yeah.
when it comes to Minnesota's winnable.
Minnesota's bad.
The Minnesota's bad. How do you go from just like I don't know. They've always been mid, but this is somehow much worse. Um I was more worried, to be honest, about the Anaheim game compared to tonight. I thought the Canucks were going to have a bit more fight. They showed a bit of that in the second before the Carlson goal, and then they kind of died again. They had 6 shots in the third. If you're trying to come back for anything at that point, like yes, one of those 6 shots was a goal. That was Kuzmenko's 4th of the year. But at the same time, like if you want to come back at all in any capacity, care maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
unless you're scoring on every shot, then you're not going to pull it off. I think that Howden goal really took the wind out of their sails, though. Like, I genuinely think that second period, they had a goal against, and they were honestly, like, kind of decent, though. I think they could have potentially built off that, and then I think that Howden goal went in 16 seconds, and like, all right, well, let's start thinking about Saturday. I honestly think this game, I don't think they win if that Howden goal doesn't go in, but I think it's probably 3-2 or maybe 4-2. Like they make it a little bit more interesting.
It
But unfortunately, we don't get to see that.
it would at least be a battle instead of like a slaughter, I'd say. Because
Yeah.
when if they actually like scored a couple to come back, even if they say they went to like overtime, like I feel like that would have been the better outcome
Oh yeah.
completely compared to, what we get in a 4-1 loss on a Thursday night against, the team we're trying to battle it out for first with. It's not good. It's not good. There needs to be. Yes, they started the season really well. I think that got a little bit to their heads, and now they're just they're kind of coasting along. But you still have most of the season to go. You can't rely on, 15 games at the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think the big thing is that they've honestly the last couple of weeks they haven't looked great, but the beginning of the season they looked so much better that now there's something to build off of, and to help them build, especially with the injury to Carson Soucy, who is gone for who knows how long. 6 to 8 weeks was about a week and a half ago, so 4.5 to 6.5 weeks. The Canucks go out and they added a guy. They had a big Russian guy, 6'6", 248 pounds. the guy who is apparently the king of high highs and lower lows, which sounds like a current defenseman that we have, Nikita Zadorov. Um, what are your when you hear that this trade goes through? I mean, there was some anticipation coming up to it. Were you hopeful that this trade would happen? Were you anti this trade happening? And then did that change for you after the trade happened?
Um, I wasn't initially happy that we traded for him because I will say again, no salary retention. Um, and if we want to re-sign some key players, if he's a rental, it's fine. If we have to re-sign him, bit of a problem. We didn't pay that much for him. The Bo Horvat trade tree continues to, or I guess the Corey Schneider trade tree continues to grow. If you look way back with it, but yeah, he's he's way too comparable to Tyler Myers, and it kind of scares me. Actually, not kind of, it absolutely scares me. Because of, yes, he's a big guy, yes, he's good at hitting things, but the low lows, yeah, there's been a lot of Julie McKenzie from A, the CJ show, and B, the Athletic, I guess. But on this on SGPN, he was on 650 before the game, like Canucks pregame stuff, and he was saying how there's so many goals that Zadorov, like, he'll miss a play with the puck and it'll, lead to a goal against. And that's just so much, that's so relatable, I guess, to Tyler Myers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is basically everything he does. That's not offensive style, but he is more offensive at when it comes to, like, he scored 14 goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty decent for defense.
Yeah. I
As
think that was a bit of an outlier. That
Yeah.
14 goals. He's got one this year. Honestly, like my coming up to this trade happening and the rumors around him, I was very anti Nikita Zadorov. And it wasn't because of the player he is, it was because I thought the acquisition cost would be really high. The acquisition cost was remarkably low, right? It was the ghost of Anthony Beauvillier and a third round pick 2 years from now. I saw the looking at the Flames replies to the comments. I was like, wow, we traded Nikita Zadorov for a 15-year-old. It's like, yeah, I guess so.
Oh my gosh.
So, but honestly, like looking at sort of the bigger picture and not only, what he brings, but also how it shifts the lineup, right? How it moves Tyler Myers down, how it moves Noah Juleson out of the lineup. Um, and having honestly analytically, the big mistakes stand out, and that's going to happen. Analytically, he's good, like genuinely. Like going off of the wins above replacement metric, 86th percentile purely even strength defensively, which is really good, right? That's better than 86% of defensemen in the NHL in his own zone. 42nd percentile offensively, 12th percentile when it comes to taking penalties. He takes too many penalties, which is going to hurt a little bit, but he's going to be an upgrade, right? He's going to fill that gap of, because yeah, the Juleson, McWard, Hirose, almost Matt Irwin rotation that we had going on is not ideal, right? There's that big drop off. They had 6 NHL defensemen, and then there was there was no tweeners. It was just all AHL guys. So I really like the move. And again, are they going to be able to re-sign him? It'll be tough, right? I mean, he makes 3.8, I think, this year, and then it expires. So they're not stuck with him next year. There was some word about a potential sign and trade, but that didn't come to fruition. So yeah, even if it's just for this year, and maybe if he enjoys it here, he comes back for cheap. I kind of doubt it. But it's a decent piece for right now, and I'm not really worried about next year because this management group has shown, they went out and got Ian Cole, they went out and got Mark Friedman, they went out and got Carson Soucy, and those guys have all worked out really well. So even if it's just for now to fill a gap that this team has, right? Where does this leave this team's defense? You have Hughes Hronek, a pretty good number one pair. You have Ian Cole with now Nikita Zadorov, which I think is a decent second pair at best. And then your third pair is Tyler Myers and I guess Mark Friedman, which is probably okay as a third pair. couple that with like a really good offense and some really good goalies, and I think you have all the makings of like the 10th best team in the NHL. And I'm totally good with that for right now.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they play better than, because tonight they were looking more like the 20th best team in the
Yeah.
NHL, but I do think, yeah, the rotation. I forgot that Matt Irwin was still called up until I looked at the club playing roster and he's listed as one of our scratches. I was so confused.
Yeah, they sent Hirose down yesterday, I think, and called
Yeah.
him up.
Yeah, I completely missed that. I know Hirose was sent down, but I am worried a little bit when it comes to just the penalties as well, because that's a big problem with Tyler Myers, and I guess if he's playing less, then that is less likely to happen. But how many more penalties is Zadorov gonna take then? It all comes down to penalties. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's flashbacks to last year's penalty kill when we were absolutely horrific. Are we a little bit better?
A little bit,
Little
little
bit,
bit.
tiny bit, not.
I wouldn't call it much. What are they at right now? PK. Let's sort lowest to highest. 11th worst. That's
Um,
way better.
yeah.
76.4%. And I mean, their power play is clicking at 30. So, and this is before this game. The PK won't change really from 1 and 3.
Oh my
It's not going to
gosh.
make a big difference. But yeah, I mean, the PK has been better. And yeah, penalties are very important to a team that doesn't have a great penalty kill, right? However, we also live in an NHL where seemingly every penalty that gets called one way, one gets called back. So I'm concerned about it, but I also am like, yeah, I think he'll bring more on the ice than he'll hurt being in the penalty box.
Yeah, I do think that, yeah, he'll be a better force on the ice because like you said, we do need NHL defensemen. We definitely need some sort of anchor on the back end, as well. I mean, we do have, the Hughes Hronek pair, which is, again, chef's kiss, amazing pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bo Horvat, for being traded. Like, that's, like, the best. Watch that be the best thing he contributed to the franchise in a few years. If we re-sign him.
Yeah.
Hronek, not Horvat. Because
Yes.
obviously that has been dealt with by Lou Lamoriello. But yeah, taking penalties, I understand he has some offensive positives. That's what I was trying to say. That's the word. Positives. I'm excited. How long until Dan Milstein becomes the AGM of the Canucks?
I think he's making enough money doing what he's doing right now. I think I mean he's already I mean what percentage of the payroll is his clients at this point, right? And if he's taking 10%, right? He might be making like $4 million a year from this team on his own. Potentially. I don't know the math.
He makes more than Tocchet and like the 5 other coaches that we fired. Um yeah, cuz it's Zadorov now, Kuzmenko, Mikheyev. Am I missing anybody?
I think there's a few. I just don't remember who. Either way, he makes a good chunk of money. I think Cap Friendly has an agents page, or at least they've teased it at one point.
He has 5 Canucks contracts apparently, according to Puckpedia.
Okay.
Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, Zadorov. Where is the other 2?
So Dan Milstein, the AAV
Klimovich.
of his clients is $117 million. Dan Milstein. So if you think he makes 10% of that, that's a clean, 12 mil. Sure, some of it goes back to his company, but yeah, he's probably making 8 plus. So, and I don't think the Canucks would pay that for an AGM. I think he's got all the influence he needs right now.
Why is everyone on this list European and then Evander Kane's just there?
I think we know why.
Um, only positive was Kuzmenko breaking his slump. I did think that was
Yeah.
that was probably a good break for him, considering, being scratched in back-to-back games probably didn't feel very nice.
Yeah, and I was surprised he got scratched, or I wasn't surprised he got scratched for the one. I was surprised he got scratched for the second, especially on a back to back. You think, hey, fresh legs are nice to have, but and especially because they lost that game. Hindsight's 2020. Yeah, good for him to get one back. It was a nice play by JT. Nice play by Kuzmenko, honestly, in the neutral zone to, break up the play, get it forward to Miller, who can get the zone entry, and then Kuzmenko just bombed it towards the net, which is exactly what he has to do. So I thought that was great. Obviously not enough, but yeah. Should we jump to the people here? The
Yes.
presser.
Yes. Let's jump into the chat. Everybody, get talking. I'm going to call on you like a teacher in class when you don't want to be called on. Also, like the stream. We have 53 people watching the stream right now. 17 likes, 52. Okay, somebody didn't like me. But I am going to ask you, please like the stream, or else we're going to sign and trade. I don't know. What do you think would be the worst free agent to sign
The
at the
worst
moment?
free agent to sign right now. Did the Red Wings signed Patrick Kane, right?
Oh yeah, I
Because
guess.
he's bad. He's bad now, especially with that hip surgery that like Kessler had, and like all these guys don't ever come back from.
Did
Um,
you see the video him taking contact and it's just a dude just kind of like pushing him into the boards?
no,
Did you see that
that's
video?
no.
Oh
I
my
can I can
gosh.
understand why they'd be a little gentle with him though, coming off that surgery.
Yeah.
Um, there's not a lot of free agents who would be bad to sign. I mean, they go get Phil Kessel. I don't know if that would do much.
I would love that.
I would too. That'd be a blast. Phil Kessel, Ethan Bear would be probably the best one at this point because they need more D. But yeah, there's some options out there that could be not great.
Is Kessler officially retired?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he might be on LTIR, but
Okay.
he's done
Cuz
because
I know he was on LTIR with the dawn of non-trade
right.
era.
Yeah, I guess the worst one that's technically a free agent would be Corey Perry. That's a good call, DEL. Anyways, Fangirl asks, with Zadorov on the Canucks, what happens to Friedman after Susie returns? That's a good question because, like I sort of said, it's sort of a Friedman Myers third pair right now until Susie comes back. One option is you leave him in, you take Myers out, and you trade Tyler Myers if you can, and then free up a bunch more cap space, and then go and get Phil Kessel and get Ethan Bear and do all this other stuff. However, what are the odds that all 6 of those defensemen remain healthy for any significant amount of time? 0.
Yeah.
Like as close to 0 as it gets. So I look, having 7 NHL defensemen, Mark Friedman is a perfect guy to throw in the press box for a handful of games. Slot him in here and there. Guy's a little sore, guy's day off. Tyler Myers, took 3 penalties. Take him out, put Mark Friedman in, and then, cycle that out. But yeah, I don't see this team remaining perfectly healthy. And we don't even need to worry about that till probably 2024 when Susie comes back, right? Unless they sign Ethan Bear and everything else shifts down. So I don't think that's something to really worry about yet.
2024 is in a month. That's weird to think about.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I don't like that.
Tomorrow's December.
No. Yeah, I would say Friedman, yeah, stick him in the press box. I if they took Myers out, if Tyler Myers got scratched, I think we would have a parade. There would be a parade. We would break up
Yeah.
the parade
Yeah,
route.
I honestly, if you can give Tyler Myers 11 minutes a night, I'm totally happy. He played like 6 games where he played like between 11 and 14 minutes a night, and he was actually good. When he like wasn't trying to do too much, he was like a guy who is prototypical third pairing $1.5 million guy who makes $6 million. That's the only issue. So yeah, if they could, if they can trade him and replace that value elsewhere, it might be tough. But Alvin, I think I saw a stat the other day. It was like there had been 7 trades since the start of the season, and the Canucks had made 4 of them or something, and now that increases by 1. Alvin he's active, and he hasn't made any deals that are like egregiously bad, which is like new
Yeah.
to us. So yeah, I'll let him. Hey, if he wants to keep firing darts at the board and make things happen, like me playing NHL GM mode where you make 30 trades in one day, go for it. Revamp the team. You're clearly doing an okay job so far. So I'm all on board with whatever.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say with Tyler Myers. That's the thing about the Beauvillier trade. Like, I knew it was going to happen since we acquired him for the Horvat, in the Horvat package, but when it comes to other players, I felt like they could have just dropped on Chicago. I felt like Tyler Myers could have been in that conversation. Just because, I mean, maybe I know he has a no move. Does he have a no trade as well?
I think it's a modified no trade.
Okay, so that
As
might
of
have
right
been
now,
on his no
I think
trade
it was no
list.
move for the first 3 years, if I remember correctly, and then it became I can tell you what it is. Tyler Myers, MNTC. He's got a 10-team no trade. You have to imagine the Chicago Blackhawks are on that list, the way they're playing right now. So, yeah, I think he would be going to, if they were to move him, he'd probably be going to a contending team in the East, would be my
Okay.
guess.
Tampa, let's hope.
Sure.
They just came to my mind. I was like, you know what? They seem like the type of seem like the type of guys that would do that. Except, the other half of Dan Milstein's pay is from the Lightning because he has Vasilevsky and Kucherov.
Yeah,
And
Kucherov's
Sergachev.
Yeah, his top 3 contracts are Tampa Bay players.
9.5, 9.5, 8.5. Yeah, I mean, maybe he can sweeten some kind of deal. I don't know. Yeah. Tyler Myers, I don't know if I can wait until the offseason for him to be gone because I don't know what else he is going to cost for this team. Yeah.
We've had him for 5 years. What's another few months?
Fair enough. Somebody said, what are your thoughts on trading Besser at the deadline, sell high? What is wrong with you?
Really have to fall apart for that to be a move.
What is wrong with you,
I know you're the
Eric?
worst person to ask that question. Just because there's no chance of you putting your bias aside, but your bias is right here. Trading Besser right now. I mean, this is the thing is, if it was like randomly, oh, now he's just scoring a bunch of goals, and no one thought he was going to have this many goals. Let's be real, but everyone thought he'd do better this year, and that has happened. Is he going to score 55 goals every year? He might score 50 this year. He might score 40, 45. Maybe next year it's more 35, and that's sort of where he flattens out. I don't think this team's moving on from him, especially not this year.
I think because
if they're in a playoff spot, they're not trading.
They're not trading the guy that scored 4 goals in the home open. He scored. Let me remind you all. English language. We won 8-1 that first game. Brock Besser scored half of those goals. They are not trading him. I think more of the hype came to when was he going to score 30 goals, because it's been years of almost being there or not being close. I think this year he's already over halfway there. He's at 17.
He'll have 30 goals in the middle of February.
That's pretty good. I'll take it. Who said Nylander for Pettersson?
Yeah,
I used to make fun of that.
Yeah, I mean, Nylander's really good, but I don't think they're doing that. I also want to say you can't trade Brock Besser because he won that really nice old lady $100,000, and so he's now got to stay here.
I've never seen somebody win that ever.
Yeah, that was great.
That's a core memory. Don't value Besser based on one season. Look at his overall career.
Yeah, that's also fair, but I mean, other teams are going to look at that too, right?
I mean,
other teams aren't dumb. You're not trade, like, no GM is trading their top scorer when they're top 3 in their division and they haven't made the playoffs in essentially 8 years, if you exclude the bubble. Because I kind of do, because they weren't going to make the playoffs that year, I don't think. No one's trading their top scorer. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Also, like, based on one season, look at his overall career. No GM aside from Patrick Alvin was going to sign JT Miller to $56 million.
I think someone would have.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of dumb GMs.
I think there's a lot
of
teams that would have.
Horvat, yeah. The Islanders paid Horvat. That's a better comparison,
that was too much money.
That's also Lou Lamoriello. So I feel like judging Lou Lamoriello's decisions are just kind of a given when the decisions are made. There's a lot of overpaid players in this league, but I don't know. Overall career based on one season. Who's a player that's struggling right now that needs just generally overall and who's not doing well?
Leon Draisaitl.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if that's even true. I just know
Connor
his
McDavid.
team's bad. Connor McDavid's stepping it up.
Uh,
Actually, Draisaitl has 29 points in 20 games, 22 games. He's doing okay.
he's it's all right. It's mid. You know, it could Quinn Hughes is doing better, but
Mhm.
Miller is great value so far. That is also true.
Yep, and we knew he would be. Like genuinely, when that contract was signed, it was like, yeah, that'll be great for 4 or 5 years,
I think
and it will be.
I
But they got to win. They got to win in the next 5 years while that contract's good.
yeah, I do think it was a bit of panic mode. How everything last year started though. Um,
Yeah, it seemed like Horvat was the guy to hitch the wagon to. The management group saw differently, and so far they have been absolutely correct.
recency
And
bias.
yeah, he's been great. He's actually good at defense now, which is amazing.
We need Phil Kessel in here to bond with JT Miller and Rick Tocchet over
Yes.
that. I feel like that's the next move that they're gonna make. They're not signing Bear. They're not bringing Tanev back. They're not rising Alex Edler from the ashes. No, they're signing Phil Kessel.
Costco hot dogs right across the street.
Exactly. Perfect deal. It's still 150, right?
Yeah, yeah. The CEO said he would kill someone if they ever changed it.
In Minecraft.
No, I
YouTube.
don't think so. I
No,
don't
no,
think so.
no. YouTube TOS.
I'm not threatening anybody.
He did. Yes. Can we talk about how sick the Canucks Orca looks for their indigenous inspired jersey? That Orca
It looks
slaps.
great.
That is so true. I advocate for that should be the next permanent logo. And I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's the Grizzlies colors." Like, yes, it is the Grizzlies colors, but in the literal thing that the Canucks put out, they were like, "This is the colors from the Musqueam Nation." Like that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's also kind of the Kraken colors.
A little bit, but
The primary is the same color almost.
Primary is the same color. I do think, well, they could have done more, with, the hoodies that they put out for $80, but then again, it's better than some other merchandise we've seen. Could be worse, could be Fanatics, but when it comes to the logo, yeah, it's honestly the best. Like, everybody saying that we should change the black skate, that's all for nostalgia. I think we should keep the Orca, change it to something indigenous inspired for the logo.
Cooler in general.
Cooler in general, yeah, because the black skate, what's the local tie? Orca, West Coast, all that. I think the blue we should keep in as well. I don't know. I have a lot of opinions about the jerseys, but
That's
it's
fair.
fine.
You gotta get in the boardroom there.
I'm just gonna barge my way into Rogers Arena. This is what you should do, and I'm right because I think I am.
Yes. And they will listen, I'm sure.
Definitely. They will 100% listen to, the trespasser in a giant Canucks blanket hoodie thing. This was
That with the wrong logo on it.
With
You're
the
advocating that'd be a tough look.
Okay, listen. It was $20 on Canadian Tire last year. Or not last year. It's a couple years ago at this point. But it's comfy and it's final season. I'm wearing whatever.
Fair enough.
Miller's totally outplaying Pettersson now?
He is right now,
Okay, yeah.
but he won't long term.
Yeah. Pettersson's still not a physically strong player. I mean, he's doing a lot of hits.
I think he's hurt.
He's hurt,
he's hurt.
definitely.
He
And
says he isn't. He's hurt.
He's he's a hockey player. They never make good decisions with injuries. Yeah, he's hurt. Definitely something where where when he got crushed by Tyler Myers.
Yeah, that didn't help.
That did not help. Do we know what's wrong with Pettersson's wrist?
No.
No.
Nothing. I don't even think it's his wrist. I think it's like groin. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like he's not skating the same, and he doesn't have the pep in his step. He seems to be a little more hesitant to get into corners. But we'll see. I'm sure he'll come back. Some players do tape their wrist just for stability, though. That doesn't necessarily mean it's injured.
Mitch Marner does.
Yeah, and
Like
he's
that
great.
was he got a hat trick tonight. It was
That-
in the photo.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So he took a puck to the face recently. He's wearing a fishbowl.
Yes, yes.
And he
Which
got
is
sorry.
absolutely cool.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
He scored all 3 Leafs regulation goals, and the Leafs blew the lead. And it went to a shootout, and he also scored in the shootout.
Sweet.
Yeah. We should rest him for a few games. That's what I am saying.
I agree.
We're in a spot. We're good. Sit down for a few minutes. We can bring up anybody else. Well, not anybody. Not
PDG up there, first line.
PDG first line.
No, it would be Hoglander.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Christmas coming up. You can rest him for 5 days in 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. There's give him an extended break. Give him a snow day.
Yeah, give him the Sharks game off on the 23rd, and then he has a whole week off.
I mean, maybe he could get some extra points in that now. Just
He could get 6 points in that game.
yeah. I don't know. I think that's about all the theories I have for this team for the time being.
Sounds good. Should we wrap it up?
I think you should wrap it up. And hey, at least we didn't tweet the Zoom link tonight. Did you see?
No, that's tough.
That's tough. Yeah. For reference, go watch Game Over Winnipeg Edmonton after this. But I have been Kaja Mae. You can find me at Real Kaja Mae on Twitter. You can find Parker at Parker's Pucks on the same site. Subscribe to SDPN. Follow SDPN Sports on all social media. Like the stream. Rate, review on podcast platforms. We'll see you all again on Saturday. All right. Good night, everybody.